Welcome back to another Lettuce Garden scripting video. This is the third video in our currency playlist, and we're going to go over how to make a daily reward system in this video. By the end of the video, what we'll have is a UI that pops up when you join the game, with days 1 through 7, with coin rewards being awarded. When I click the claim button, I get the money in my account. I get a timer telling me how much time until the next award is available, and then I can just close out the UI and play the game. So, if you ever get stuck, this is a pretty complex system, please go on to our Discord server and ask. If you want the assets, check out the link in the description to go to our website. And other than that, I hope you guys have fun making this system. In order to help us kind of understand and follow along with how the system's going to work, I think it makes sense for us to start with the UI. And based on the way that we're going to lay out the UI, I think it will make more sense on what we're actually building here. So if you come up to a starter GUI, we can make a new GUI, and we can name this Daily Rewards. And inside here, we're going to make a new frame. And we're going to set the anchor point to 0.5, 0.5, position to 0.50, 0.50, and I'm just going to put in some random size here. And let's style this a little bit. So I'm just going to make this have a, maybe like a dark blue background. It's a nice color. I'm going to give this a corner. And I'm going to give this a stroke. Now, obviously, this is just a quick example for the video. You can make this UI look however you want. The code is generally all the same. I'm just doing a quick, simple version of it here so that we can get started. I'm going to make the stroke have a thickness of 4. And in here, we're going to make a new frame and a text button. And this text button is going to be our claim button. So let's name this claim button. And we're going to make this the anchor point, middle of the screen, or not middle of the screen, sorry, middle of the text button in the X and bottom in the Y. Position 0.50, 0.950, and then we can make the height 0.1 in the Y, and maybe 0.3 in the X. For the background transparent or background color, sorry, I'm going to make it the same as the stroke, and I'm going to make it nice and big, bold, white color, and it's going to say claim. And I'm also going to add a bit of an outline. So text stroke transparency, I'm going to set that to 0. And now we have our claim button. And we can also just add in a UI corner to this as well with a 0.10 corner. And with this frame, so this frame is where our like the rewards are going to be showing. So let's put this in the middle and a little bit down from the top. Let's give it a size of 0.95 in the X and maybe we can go a bit more than that, 0.8, 0.75. Yeah, 0.75 in the Y. And let's remove the background transparency. And in here, we're going to make a new frame. This parent frame, let's name this awards. And this one here, this is going to be what our day looks like. So we're going to have 7 days worth of rewards. So we're going to need to have 7 frames here. And you'd think that we could use a UI grid layout for this. However, let me show you what will happen if we do that. So if we use a UI grid layout, and I copy this a couple times, so we have 7 of them. How many is that? So now we have 7. And if I size this a little bit, so maybe I do, maybe 0.4 in the Y and 0.2 in the X. What we have here is we have like a really obvious empty spot here. And instead of that, I'd rather have our 7th day take up both spots, and we can make the 7th day like a bigger reward. So it takes up more space in the UI and it looks more important. And it also fixes the issue of having an empty space in our UI. So in order to do this, we actually have to build this manually. So let's remove all these extra frames and just start with one of them. And we're going to set the size of this to be 0.2 and then 0.45. And we're going to name this 1 because this is day 1. And Control D to duplicate. We're going to name the next one 2. And then we're going to set the position to 0.2. So that's right beside the previous one. Make another one, name it 3. Set it to 0.4. Make another one, name it 4. We're going to set this to be 0.6. And actually, I realized I made a mistake. Rather than doing 0.2s, we really should be doing 0.25. So we're actually going to highlight all of these, change the 0.2s to 0.25, and come back and fix up the position. So rather than 0.2, it should be 0.25. Rather than 0.4, it should be 0.5. And rather than 0.6, it should be 0.75. And now we have 4 frames on the top. Let's make the bottom. Number 5 is going to be back at position 0, but 0.5 on the Y. Number 6, 0.25. And number 7 is going to be positioned at 0.5 and also have a size of 0.5. So now we have all of our frames. Now it's hard to tell because they're all touching. However, we're going to fix this by, we're going to set all the background transparencies to 1. And within the first one, let's create a new frame. Set the anchor point to 0.5 and both. Set the position to 0.5 and then set the size to, let's set the size to 0.95. And what you'll notice is that this is just slightly inset from our exterior frame. So if we just quickly copy and paste this to the other ones, we'll see that now we actually do have some space between all of our frames, and we didn't have to do any complex math to kind of figure out all the spacing and whatnot. So this is a nice quick way to do that. Let's remove those frames, and instead, before we add them to the other ones, let's first add some elements to this frame. So let's give it a UI corner of 0.1, my favorite number apparently, and a text label. We'll name this the day, and then this will have a size of 1 in the X and maybe 0.2 in the Y. Remove the background transparency, turn on text scaled, and give it a black weight. And then this will say like day 1, for example. Let's duplicate the day, change the anchor point to be 0.1 and the position to be 0.010. And then this will say here 100 coins because that's the reward we're going to give. And we can change this back to like a regular weight. So, oh, sorry, we also have to name this reward. So now if we copy and paste this inner frame, let's name this info first. So we can copy our info frame, select all of the other frames and click paste into selected. And now we have all 7 days populating. Now you'll notice they all say day 1 and they all say 100 coins. So the next step here is going to be making sure that this data is actually accurate. So in replicated storage, let's make a new folder. We're making this a folder for a reason that will become obvious in a minute, but let's make this named daily rewards. And inside of this folder, we're going to make a new module script called daily rewards. And in here's where we're going to return all the rewards that we have. So return, and on day one we want to have a reward of 100 coins. Day 2, let's do 150 coins. Day 3, we can do, I don't know, maybe like 200 coins. The numbers don't really matter, they're easily adjustable. Day 5, 300. And we're going to go all the way up into 7 days. So day 7 will be 400 coins. Actually, let's make day 7 450. So it's even a greater reward. And so now that we have all of our rewards here, let's come back to our daily rewards UI. And we're going to make a new script with a run context of client. And let's make a few variables. So local UI, as always, is script.parent. local frame equals UI wait for child frame. Local awards equals frame wait for child awards. And now let's actually loop through our data. So let's bring this in. Local daily rewards equals require replicated storage. Okay, well, let's bring in replicated storage. So replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage. So replicated storage dot daily rewards dot daily rewards. And here now what we can do is we can do for, and so let's take a look. So we have our day index and the amount of coins. So we have the for day comma amount in daily rewards do. So we have our day and reward. So in our rewards frame, we named all of our frames based on the day that they're attached to. So what we can do here is we can say local day frame equals awards find first child day. And this will return the frame that has the same name as our day. So if it's day 2, it gives us the second frame. And then what we can do from here is we can say day frame dot info dot day dot text equals day. So we can set the text to be, so we want to say, for example, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So we can make it say here, we put day in quotes, double period, and then day. This will make all the UIs have the right days. And now we can also do the same thing for the reward. So dayframe.info.reward.text equals, and we can say amount coins. So let's test this out. If I test the game now, we should see the UI update properly. So we have day 1, day 2, day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the rewards also highlighting properly. So the next step here is really the bulk of the system, and it's determining which day the player is on, which rewards they're allowed to claim, showing a timer when to show them how much time's left, and so on. There's a lot of little small features here that we need to get through. If at any time you get stuck, please come over to our Discord server and ask for help. This is a fairly complex system, so just keep that in mind. Take it slow. If you need to pause the video, please pause the video. But I will try to do my best into making sure that you're able to follow along. So let's come up to the server. So the server is where most of this magic will be happening. So let's make a new script here. Let's call this daily rewards. And so let's talk about what this script needs to do. This script needs to give us a way to claim a reward. So let's just make that function. Let's make the blueprint of what our file looks like. So we need to be able to claim a reward. And in order to know which reward we have to claim, we need to know, okay, well, which day are they allowed to claim? So let's make another function here. Get current day index for player. And we're going to use data store 2 like we did in the currency service. So let's bring in data store 2. So local data store 2 equals require, and this is within server script service. So let's just import that. So local server script service equals game get service server script service, and then this will be data store 2. And let's make the data store key. In this case, let's call it daily rewards 01. For the same reason, we can change this to be an 02 to reset the data. And we also want to set some default data. And I know that this is going to be a table, but we haven't really thought about what this table looks like yet. So let's just leave it empty for now. Okay, so one other thing we have to do with data store 2 is we have to make sure that we're combining. So data store 2.combine data Then we have our data store key. And remember from the first video in the series, we want to combine all of our data because it takes up less API requests. Okay, so how are we going to actually let the player claim? Well, what we need to do is we need to create something called a remote function. So in our daily rewards folder, let's make a new remote function. And let's call this claim. And what we can do then is we can listen for when the client talks to this claim. So the way remote functions work is what's going to happen is we're going to click the claim button in our UI. It's going to tell the server, hey, I want to claim this, and then the server is going to process that request. Okay, so on the server here, we want to check to see when this request is being prompted. So let's make a new variable, local daily rewards folder equals replicated storage. And we have to bring in replicated storage. So local replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage. And this will just be .daily rewards. And what we can do down here at the bottom is we can do daily rewards folder .claim on server invoke equals function. And this gives us the player. And then we can just, for now, let's just print player wants to claim the daily reward. Okay, so just nice and simple. Right now, we're just printing when the player wants to claim a reward. So now back to our client. We want to now tell the server that we want to claim. So let's make another variable up here, local daily rewards folder. And we can just copy it from this line here and replace it with our variable. And down here, what we can do is if we look at our UI, we have our claim button within our frame. So we can do frame.claim_button.activated connect. And then we can do daily rewards folder .claim invoke server. So when we click the claim button now, we should see a print from the server in our output. So let's test this out to make sure it all works properly. So we click claim and we get the print, Captain Lettuce wants to claim daily reward. Okay, so that's working. And so how do we actually write out this claim now? So, okay, well, I think this is a good time for us to talk about how we want to store this data. So what we want to know is when was the last time the player claimed a reward and which day was that? So in our default data, we can do current day, it defaults to 1, and the last claim, they last claimed it, and we can just say it was at time 0. So, you know, basically they've never claimed it at all. If it's 0, they've never claimed it at all. It was the system will interpret this as it was a very, very, very long time ago. Because what we're going to do here is we're going to store in the current time in seconds in this last claim data spot. So, for example, if I come down to my command line here and I write out print workspace get server time now, it gives me this time, well, seconds with some decimal places. But basically, this amount of seconds is the exact instant that represents this time. So if I run this again, you'll see that, you know, there was about 10 seconds or, 13 seconds between when I did the first print. And so that's the number that we're going to store in last claim. So what we can do with this information is we can say, if they're trying to claim within 24 hours, then obviously that's too fast. Like we have to say, no, you need to wait. So, okay, so let's get their data. So local daily reward store equals data store 2. And then we have data store key and the player. And the last reward, so local last reward equals daily reward store get, and then we make sure we have to pass in that default. And then we can say, well, right now, we can get the server time. So right now it's this amount of seconds. and then the time difference between now and when they last claim something, we can say that's now minus last reward dot last claim. And what we can do here is we can say if time difference is less than 24 hours. Okay, well, let's make a constant up here for 24 hours. So local hours 24 equals 60 times 60 times 24. And this is 24 hours. So what we have here is 60 seconds. Sorry, there are 60 seconds in every minute. And then there are 60 minutes in every hour. And then there are 24 hours in a day. So this gives us the hours and the 24 hours that we're looking for. So if the time difference is less than 24 hours, then what we're going to do is we're going to say print tried to claim too soon, and we're going to return false. Otherwise, it's perfectly valid and they're allowed to claim. So what we can do here is we can say, okay, well, we need to get which day they're currently on. So what we can do is let's do local reward day, and then we can do here, we can get current day index, because this is a function that we wrote out earlier. And okay, so now we have to determine which day they're supposed to be on. So first, let's get their data. So let's just copy this from our previous function. And if the current time has passed too long, so if they've gone beyond the next day, we have to make sure we reset, because this is supposed to be a streak, right? We want them to play 7 days in a row. So they have to wait 24 hours to claim the next day, and then they have 24 hours to claim that day. So that would mean after 48 hours from the last claim, their time has expired and we want to reset their data back to day 1. So in order to do that, we can say local now. Actually, let's just copy this from down here. We want to get the now and time difference again. And then what we can say here is if the time difference is greater or equal to, and then we can do hours 48 for 48 hours. So let's do local hours 48 equals, and then that's just hours 24 times 2, right? So if the time difference is greater than 48 hours, then we want to set the index to 1. Okay, so let's make a variable up here, local day index, and then this will just be for now last reward dot current day. So right now current day is 1, but say if current day was 5, if the time was greater than 24 hours, we want to reset that back to 1. And then down here we can return the day index. Return day index. And now we can come back down to our claim function here. And now that we have our reward day, what we can do is we can say, let's just print here, print give player reward day reward for testing purposes. And let's also increment their data. So we can say local new day index equals the reward day plus 1. And checking out our daily rewards module here, we only have 7 days worth of data. So after day 7, we want to reset back to day 1 as well. So if new day index is greater than the amount of entries we have in our rewards, our rewards module, then also go back to 1. So new day index equals 1. And so we have to import our rewards up here. So local rewards, I cannot spell, rewards, require replicated storage dot daily rewards dot daily rewards. So if the new day index is greater than the rewards total, go back to number 1. And then what we can do here is we can set daily reward store. We're going to set this to be current day equals new day index, and last claim will be now. So they've last claimed it now, and the current valid day is the next day. So this will increment it up to the next day, but also update our system to make sure they wait 24 hours before claiming again. And down here, rather than on line 64, rather than printing they want to claim, we can now call the we can now call the claim function. And we also want to return this. No, sorry, we don't want to return that yet. Sorry, we'll get to that in a moment. But first, let's just test out to see if this works. So what we should see is we should see some prints in the output. So if I click claim, I see give player 1 reward, which means the day 1 reward. If I click claim again, it says I tried to claim too soon because we set that 24-hour time wait. Now, just for testing purposes, I'm going to go ahead and change 24 hours to be 5 seconds. So if I change this to be a 5, I now only need to wait 5 seconds between each day. And actually, this is a good point to make. If you want your system to update every, say, 6 hours, you can change this number here. So rather than saying 60 times 60 times 24, you can do 60 times 60 times 6, and that will be 6 hours rather than 24. For this test, I want it to be 5 seconds. So if I click play, if I click claim, I get the print. If I try to click it again, it says I tried to claim it too soon. But if I wait 5 seconds, give player 2 reward. Okay, so I'm on day 2 now. If I click it again, now I'm on day 3. So we see it is incrementing properly. And we just want to make sure that it goes all the way back down to 1 after we get to 7. So we're on day 5 now. Day 6. Okay, we got to day 7, and now we just have to go all the way back down to day 1. Okay, so we see that we're back at 1, so our loop is functioning properly. All right, so our server is pretty much done. The only thing we have to do now is actually reward the coins. So right here, we can import our currency service, and that is require server script service.currency service. And then here, rather than printing give reward, we can do currency service, add money, player. And then the actual amount of money is going to be local amount of money. Then we can get from our rewards the reward day. So we go into our rewards module, we get the current day, and that gives us the amount of money to reward, and then we can pass it into our currency service add money. And let's just double check that this works. So if I go back into the play mode, if I click claim, I should get 100 coins. Cool, so I got the day 1 reward. If I click play again, claim again, I should get 150. Oh yeah, so that's working. So we're getting the right amount of coins every time we click the claim button. And so now what we need to do is on the UI, we need to highlight which day is the current day. And we also need to display a timer when the player needs to wait some time. Just before I do that, let me make sure I change this hours 24 back to the correct time. And in our daily rewards local script here, let's first make the UI show which day is your current day. So let's make another function here, local function update UI state. And what we want to do here is we want to get the current day. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, let's make a new remote function here, Control D to duplicate, and let's name this get info. And what we can do here is we can say local info equals daily rewards folder dot get info invoke server. And let's connect this up on our server as well. So down here, daily rewards folder dot get info on server invoke equals function. We get the player. And here, let's just copy this. We can return the last reward. And so now when we invoke the get info event, get invoke function, the client can now access the current day and the last claim time. So what we can do with that information is we can say, okay, well, if it's under 24 hours, we want to show the timer. If it's above 24 hours, we want to show the claim button. So let's first write out that logic. So let's get the now. Workspace get server time now. And then we can do, let's get the last claim. So last claim equals info.lastClaim. And then the time difference, again, is now minus last claim. And what we can do here is we can say claim button dot visible equals time difference is greater than hours 24. So we want the claim button to be visible if the time difference is greater than 24 hours. So let's bring in some variables up here. Local hours 24 equals, again, 60 times 24. And we'll need the hours 48 as well. So hours 48 equals hours 24 times 2. And let's just bring in a variable here for the claim button. Local claim button equals frame, wait for child claim button. So if we run this now, well, first, nothing's going to happen because this is a function that we haven't called yet. So what we need to do is down here, we need to do a while true do loop. So while task.wait1 do, and then we can call update UI state. So every 1 second, we'll update the UI state. And we want to do this because, you know, every second the time could have gone past the 24-hour time. We also want to update state when the player clicks the claim button so that we can get that immediate feedback when they click it. So let's also call update UI state here. And we'll notice that we can't actually call it because we've defined the function below. So let's actually move our claim button.activated function below our UI state. And so let's test this out. So what should happen now is when I click the claim button, it should disappear. Because it's within that 24-hour period. Okay, so it's not disappearing. Oh, and so it's not disappearing because we haven't updated the value. So on the server, we're updating the value, but the client isn't getting any new information. So the client first gets the information when the game first starts. And when you click claim, it's running this UI update state function with the old info. So we want to give it new info. And let's go to our daily reward script. And within this claim on server invoke, down here, let's actually bring this up. So let's copy this here and let's return last reward. So every time they claim, we're going to return to them the new updated state of things. And then here, what we can do is we can say info equals daily rewards.claim invoke server. So when they claim, we'll get an updated info. And if we run this now, if I click claim, the claim button disappears, and in 24 hours, it will reappear. And we'll do a more solid test for that in a bit. First, I noticed that we forgot to add in the timer. So let's add in the timer. So let's make a new text label. Set the anchor point to 0.5 and 1. Position to be 0.5, 0.95, and just a size that looks good. That's too tall. 0.1. And remove the background. Set text scale to be true. Set the color to be white. And we're going to make this black for the boldness. And then we're just going to turn visible off. We don't need it at the moment. And we're going to name it timer. So in our script now, underneath the claim button, let's import our timer as well. So local timer equals frame, wait for child, timer. And then here, timer.visible is going to equal time difference is less than or equals to hours 24. So if the time between now and the last claim is under 24 hours, let's show the timer. So if I now test this out, when I click the claim button, the button disappears and our timer shows up. Our timer obviously right now isn't actually showing anything useful. So let's make it show a useful time. So in our local script here, we have to set the timer text. So local timer.text equals, okay, well, how do we get the the text from this. So what we can do here is we can make a new function, number to time, and then we're going to pass in time difference. So let's make this function, local function, number to time, number. And so what we want from this is we want to get the hours. So the number is going to be provided in seconds, and we want to convert the seconds to hours, minutes, and seconds so that we can display the time, something like this. So 2 days, 2 hours, 23 minutes. That's how we want to display this. So to do that, we need to get the hours, we need to get the minutes, and we need to get the seconds. So to get the hours, it's pretty straightforward. We can do math.floor number divided by 60 divided by 60. So we take our massive number in seconds, we divide it by saying, okay, well, there are 60 minutes in an hour, and then there are 60 seconds in a minute. So if we divide it by those two numbers, then we get the hours. It's pretty much the opposite of what we did for the hours 24. So rather than doing 60 times 60 times hours, we're doing hours divided by 60 divided by 60. And for minutes, what we can do here is pretty much the same thing. Oh, sorry, I forgot an O here. This should be math.floor. For the minutes, we can do basically the same thing. Math.floor, number divided by 60. And we're only going down to minutes though, so we only have to divide it by 60 once. And then we're going to put in the modulo operator 60. So what this will do is if our minutes are, say, 62, so if we get 62 from this, throwing in this modulo 60 brings it down to 2. So 62 minutes makes no sense. That's an hour and 2 minutes, right? So doing this modulo 60 with a percent sign now brings it back down to 2 minutes, something that we can work with. And then for the seconds, we can do something similar where we can just do number modulo 60. And so if our number is, if we have, say, 62 seconds, that's actually a minute and 2 seconds, right? So doing modulo 60 brings it down to 2 seconds, which is something we can work with. And then here, what we want to do is we want to return hours, minutes, seconds. Now, one thing I want to point out here is if our minutes are, say there's 6 minutes left, it's going to look really weird. It can say something like 6 or 262, where I personally prefer it to look something like more like 20602. Like I prefer these leading zeros in my times. I think that's more clear to players. So to add those in, what we can do is we can say, if the minutes are less than 10, then the minutes are going to be, we're going to add in an extra 0 out front and then append the minutes onto the back of it. And same with seconds. If seconds is less than 10, then seconds equals 0 with the seconds appended onto the back. And okay, so this actually should work now because we're already setting the timer text. So let's come back to here. So when I click claim now, okay, so our timer is working, but it's counting up rather than down. And the reason why that's happening is because the way we're doing our time difference calculation is it gets the amount of seconds from the last one. But we want to convert this into the amount of seconds until the next claim time. So what we can do here is we can just do hours 24 minus time difference. And then this will invert it and give us the amount of time until the next time we're able to claim. So if I test this out, I click claim, we now see that this timer is now counting down from 24 hours. So the only thing that's left for us to do now is to highlight which day we're currently on. So in our update UI state function, what we can do is we can loop through all of the awards. So local award in awards get children. And remember, the awards is this frame here that has all of our days within it. We can say, if that frame's day is the current day, make it a different color. So first we can say award day equals toNumber award.name. So the award name right now is stored as a string, but we need to convert that to a number so that we can use it with our systems. So frame 2's name is 2, and then award day will be 2. And then what we can say is local selected equals award day equals our current day. Okay, well, let's make this current day variable. So local current day equals info.current day. And because our system isn't automatically updating after that 48 hours, we have to check it here as well. So we can say if the time difference is greater than hours 48. So if it's greater than 48 hours, then we're going to set the current day back to 1. And this will make sure that the current day, if the player has, hasn't played the game in like a couple days and they come back, it will properly show 1, even if our data store isn't showing 1. But because we have that last claim number in there, this kind of fixes that issue and displays the information correctly to our player. And what we can do then here is we can say award.info.background color 3 equals, well, if it's selected, then we can give it, if it's selected, let's make it like a blue color. And if it's not selected, else, we can say it's a white color. So if it's not selected, it'll be white. If it is selected, it will be blue. So let's test this out. So, okay, so we see day 1 is highlighted because this is our current day. If I click claim, day 2 becomes the current day, and I get that timer countdown. Now for testing purposes, just so I can prove to you guys that the system works, what we should do is let's change our hours 24 to 5 seconds again in both the client and server. And let's just go through everything. So right now we've tricked the system into believing that a day is only 5 seconds long. So if I click claim, the timer counts down from 5 now. And now we're on day 2. If I click claim, now we're on day 3. Now, pretend I don't play the game for a day. So I'm going to wait 5 seconds without claiming anything. And we'll see the UI goes back to day 1. And day 1 should give me 100 coins. I have 350 right now. When I click claim, it goes to 450. So it did give me the correct award for the day, even though I didn't play for a day, in quotation marks. And let's just make sure that we set this back to 24 hours rather than 5 seconds so that our system functions properly. And the only thing we need to do now is we need to add an X button to this screen. As well, we need to make sure this UI pops up automatically when the game starts. So for the close button, let's just open up our currency shop and copy the close button. And we're going to paste that into our frame. It's nice and easy. We've already made it, so we can just copy and paste it. And inside of our local script here, above our wow task.wait, we can do, let's first import our close button. So local close button equals frame, wait for child, close button. And then here we can do close button.activated, connect, UI.enabled equals false. And we can also do here UI.enabled equals true to make it so the UI pops up when the game first starts. And now that we have all that done, we can set the default state to be false, so it's not blocking your screen during development. But when we test the game, the UI pops up properly, gives us our times, and when I click claim, it gives me the countdown, and when I click the close button, it closes the UI. Player can keep playing their game. So that's the daily reward system. If you're lost or you're having issues, please go into our Discord server and ask. We can help you out there. If you're looking for the assets for this system, check out the link in the description. If you have any other questions at all about Roblox coding, or you're looking for work or whatever, come on over to our Discord server. We have a nice community there of people. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one where we will make an item shop.